Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Did you know you can support the channel by joining? If you enjoy the videos, it's something to think about. On to the stories. This is my channel's weekly compendium, ending Monday, January 2nd, 2023. Case file number 897, written by Apocalypse Tea Party. How did my car travel through time? I was traveling a long stretch of highway. It was early in the morning and the road was clear. I had my GPS on to give me an ETA and help me with the end of the journey. I knew I had to stay on the single highway until almost the very end. I had traveled this highway many times before, and I was familiar with the landmarks. There's a clump of trees in the middle of a field. Then there's a farmer with the handmade political signs, then a blue barn. Then there's an exit sign that's at a 45-degree angle. Subtle details interspersed across long stretches of empty fields, but I know them well. I was listening to my music, and I was mildly annoyed every time the GPS paused to give me the next set of directions, but I tolerated it because I would need it when I reached my exit. In 2 miles, go straight on Highway XX. Go straight to stay on Highway XX. Then a few minutes later, in 2 miles, go straight to stay on Highway XX. Go straight to stay on Highway XX. This continued for several rounds until I slowly started to pull my attention from the constantly interrupting music to the GPS. When it would tell me to stay straight, there was no possible turnoff that it might be telling me to avoid. It was just a straight highway. Annoyed, I decided to turn off the GPS for the bulk of the journey and just use it instead as I neared my exit. As I reached for my phone to change a command, I noticed I was passing a derelict cheese shop that I had seen many times before. I deleted the GPS command and returned my attention to the road, only to see that same derelict cheese shop pass by again. The rest of the journey was uneventful, and as I approached my exit, I replaced the GPS command only to see my destination was immediately off the highway. But I also noticed that I was 11 minutes late from my original ETA. There had been no traffic or other reasons that I might have been delayed. The journey had only supposed to be just over an hour, but it had in fact taken closer to an hour and a half. Case file number 898, written by Live Tomorrow 4865. Will you pick the red or blue pill? I keep a small plastic grocery bag next to me on my bed for used tissues, gum wrappers, empty vape cartridges, and other miscellaneous items. Every day or two, I throw it away and get a new one. My bed is too big for the room, and there's no room on either side, wall side and dresser side, to fit even a small wastebasket. In my haste this morning, the bag, yellow Dollar General bag, evidently slid off my bed and landed on the floor. I needed to get going and needed an ibuprofen before I left to stave off my chronic back pain. So I got it out of my medicine box atop my dresser and went to put it in my mouth. The yellow Dollar General bag I'd been using for bed trash was lying flat on the floor. This is important. I went to put the pill in my mouth. As I still had it in my fingers, I dropped it and heard it land on the bag. I leaned down to pick it up and found I could not. So I went to pick up the bag and the pill was inside the bag. When I say this isn't possible, I mean there's just no way. It was lying flat. There was no opening on top even, as one side of it was flat on top of the other side. I inspected the bag for holes. There were none. How in the sweet Kentucky Fried Frick did my pill phase into the bag? Something else weird happened in my bedroom last week, and a few months ago, yet another oddity. But this might be the craziest one yet. My friend is joking that my bedroom is a portal to another dimension, and I'm beginning to wonder, because really, what the hell? Creepy file number 73, written by Torb on Fire. The Mortal Fragments. I attend a local college here, studying hard every day to try to make something of my life. None of my family had ever been to college, so it's a big step for me. Anyways, as a result, I live in an apartment with 2 roommates, walking distance from campus. I was attending classes on Friday. My friend Jessica always walks home with me, makes me feel more at ease with night walks, especially as the sun sets earlier today. Still light out, but not as much as during the summertime. We're both in our 20s and female, so best to err on the side of caution, right? As we're walking, I get that tingle on the back of your neck that people get when they think they're being watched. I quickly glance behind myself, but I don't see anyone. I didn't want to scare Jessica, so I told her I just thought I heard a squirrel or something like that. Yet I still felt very uneasy. Hard to place it into words, but I knew someone was there. Maybe in a parked car? We were nearly home, and I could see the walkway into the apartment complex just up ahead. But as we got to the door, there was a strange, clear plastic bag right at the threshold. You could see inside the bag very easily. I felt sick to my stomach instantly, even before seeing the contents of the bag. It was a bag full of bones. Logically, I knew, okay, this must be some sick prank, right? But internally, no. I knew these were real bones. Something about the texture made that intuitively clear to me. Jessica hadn't realized the horror right in front of her, but soon did. I didn't vomit. Jessica's stomach wasn't so ironclad. Not on the bag, but to the side of the walkway. After the shock wore off, I knew we had to immediately call the cops. My voice was shaky even trying to explain it. How the hell do you explain that there's a random bag of potentially human remains by your front door? The cops came quickly after the call, maybe 10 minutes at most. We were still just standing outside, though moved back significantly from the bag. We couldn't even go into our apartment that night. The police cordoned off the whole area. They never followed up with us, so I have no idea if this was some sick prank ultimately, or if it was a sick freak messing with us with real bones. I also did tell the cops that I felt something was watching us on our walk back, but as I had seen nothing, I doubt it helped them. This happened a couple weeks ago. Can't shake it, nor can Jessica. We still have to walk home each night, but have recruited the protection of a couple other friends to walk with us. Even though it's not a fast way back to their place, they're happy to do it. Case file number 899, written by Powered Coffee. Everyone in my office are imposters? This glitch occurred recently. Well, it's still occurring, but it started happening a few days ago. I work in a large corporate office for a particular company that shall not be named. Truth is, I don't really like my job, but that's besides the point, I guess. Part of my job entails knowing everyone within my department, their needs and preferences, etc. Even though I don't really like my job, I am good at it. I never miss my shot in predicting what will be needed for who, remembering certain dietary requirements and other details. It's my job to do so, and when I started working here, I even kept spreadsheets to help ease my mind in remembering these details. I started noticing a lot of things simply wrong back on Monday, December 19th. I came into the office, prepared coffees for the upper management team, but half of them say that I got their coffees wrong. It's just not possible for me to get it wrong. I know each member of the team better than the back of my own hand at this point. I should, given that I've served them all coffee and other lunch orders for over 3 years. I could serve them coffee while sleepwalking and still be accurate. Do people suddenly forget core details about a job they've had for years? Why just the details about people in my office? It makes no sense, and frankly, unless I relearn what I should already know, my very job is at risk. It's so damn weird. And to be more clear, it's only details about the people I work with, the kind of coffee they like, their preferred lunches. Even the time at which they normally take off for the night is different. Everyone outside of work is perfectly normal, the same. My partner still loves steak, medium rare, and potatoes, black coffee, still wakes up earlier than a farmer. Am I being massively fooled in some way? To what end, if so? I can't think of anything else. Glitches aren't unknown to me. I like reading about them, but I can't think of anything that would fit here. Case file number 900, written by Hippie Girl Draws. A very sweet and meaty glitch. There are 2 events where I, 28 female, and my boyfriend, 31 male, could not explain for logical reasons. One day, we made hot pot for dinner, where I was sure that I put 2 slices of identical meat, same size and weight, into the pot. The lid was closed the whole time. But when we opened it, my boyfriend could only find one slice of meat, and we tried and didn't find it. Another time when we ordered a box of 6 donuts that all looked different. There should still be 3 left the next day, but we just don't have any memories of eating the last one, and it's just gone. We live in a tall new building on the 33rd floor. We don't have pets or large enough holes for rats to pass in. My eyes monitored the hot pot the whole time, and even if there are other insects or animals, shouldn't there also be traces of the donut box being broken into? Could this be a Christmas joke? Case file number 901, written by Glitter Red. Rubies for the Firecracker. A long time ago, my mother gave me a necklace for my birthday. It has a ruby fused into the middle of the pendant. My birth gem, July. I was just a teenager. I'm in my 40s now. I loved it and wore it all my life, almost every day. Something about it was irreplaceable. Almost like the ruby glowed with me connected to it. My mom told me that it didn't just represent my birth month, but also my character. I was always a bit of a firecracker. Fast forward a few decades. I had taken my necklace off and stored it in my small little safe. Whenever I wasn't going to wear the necklace, I always kept it in there for safekeeping. I was heading out of the country with my husband for a couple weeks and didn't feel comfortable bringing it with me overseas. All was well on the trip, then we return home. First thing I do when I get back is head to the safe to retrieve the necklace, but it's not in there anymore. The safe was still locked. There was no sign whatsoever of any sort of burglary. All doors and windows were locked. The alarm was on. Nothing else was taken. Of course, we're just normal people. I had no idea about the world of glitches at this time, so I just figured it must have somehow been stolen by someone we knew who had intimate knowledge of my valuables. Thing is, while the necklace held immense sentimental value to me, it wasn't worth all that much in terms of cash. Not something you'd stalk someone like prey over. Not something someone with the skills to break into a well-defended and alarmed home and into a safe would plot to steal. Still, that's all I could think happened, so we filed a police report. But there's nothing they could do. We had security cameras outside, but the footage picked up nothing as far as we could tell. Gave copies to the cops, but it is weeks of footage. I was truly saddened by this. I know it's morbid, but I was so connected to this necklace that I had intentions to be buried with it. I know, a very weird thing to think about, but it gave me tremendous comfort, like I would always be with my mom through it. Nothing I could do though besides pray and hope the cops somehow pull a miracle out of their donuts. Okay, here's where what happened to me is inexplicable. Woke up, husband was already awake, early but nothing crazy. I went to get some orange juice from the fridge, and as I turned the corner heading into the kitchen, there's a moment in time I can best describe as split. My eyes turned with my body, and in midair I saw nothing. Then I saw my necklace. It didn't pop in or fade in or anything like that, it just was nothing, and then my necklace is there. It makes my head hurt trying to recall the timeline. So there's a necklace now, and for at least a second it's frozen. Then it drops like physics is suddenly applying to it. I hear the clunk of it hitting the kitchen tiles. I see the light shimmer off the gem. I simply can't believe what I'm seeing. I yelled for my husband, "Come in here quick, you won't believe what I'm seeing here." I didn't tell my husband about the part where the necklace just appeared and was frozen in the air for a second, because that's insane. But it's what I remember. He's extremely focused too and had no explanation. He just said, "It's your necklace? Where the hell did it come from?" In the end, I'm just glad to have my so cherished necklace back. But none of this makes a lick of sense. Someone stole my necklace from a safe in a locked, alarmed home and then returned it to me by somehow defying the laws of nature? Case file number 902, written by Bricked23. Why is my apartment building alive? I work as a security nighttime attendant at an apartment building. It's 14 stories and one of the oldest buildings in the city. One night I'm sitting here when my phone rings at about 2 a.m. and I answer. "Hello, this is Warren at the front desk. How may I help you?" The voice on the other end sounded female, but was totally garbled, and the only bit I could make out was 13th floor. I tried to tell the person I couldn't understand them, and asked what apartment they were in, but again, garbled response and 13th floor. After the third time of trying to understand them, and the same response, I said since I couldn't understand them, I'd come up and meet them in the hallway. So I go to the main elevators, and both are up on the surprise 13th floor. Luckily, we have an older service elevator and it's only on the 7th floor, so I call it down. I get in and hit the button for the floor, but it won't move and the inner door won't close, so I go to unlock the reset panel and boom, we start going up. The door is still open though. I'm freaking out and the elevator is shaking because it goes up pretty fast and is old. As I'm going up, I just stay towards the back and finally, I reach floor 13. I step out, the door closes just fine and I look around the hallway. There's nobody around. I walk along slowly, trying to listen for anyone awake who might have called, but there's nothing. Now I head in the opposite direction and go towards where the regular elevators are, and when I get to them, they are just sitting there with their doors open. I was pretty freaked out, but I knew it could just be the elevators on the fritz. So I get in and figure I'll just reset them when I get to floor 1, when I hear the sound of the back stairwell closing. I quickly get out and go to the stairwell, and lo and behold, no one's there. But the maintenance door to the machine room is ajar, and at the time I'm the only one in the building with a key. At the top of the building is a large machine room housing all the really loud machinery that does stuff in the building and allows access to the roof. I don't like going into it because it's creepy as hell and no one ever goes there, so at this point I'm seriously freaked out, but I muster up and head in. I shout, "Hello?" and there's no response. The lights in this room flicker because they're crappy fluorescent lights. I can't see well either, but at the end of the room I can make out the roof access door and sure as hell it's slightly open. So I slowly continue forward, checking the space in between each machine as I walk by. And there's no one there, so I open the roof access door. I can't see anyone ahead of me, on the roof, but there is a slight wraparound, and if there was a jumper or something, I needed to be sure, so I step out and leave the door ajar like it was. Almost immediately, the door is pulled shut. Now I might have written it off as wind or something, but this door is hard to shut and really hard to open, really hard. I immediately grab my keys, unlock it, and yank the handle to open it, slam it behind me and run straight to the maintenance door. It automatically locks when it's closed, so I slam it shut too and go back to the 13th floor hallway, get into an elevator, door still open, and go all the way down to the first floor. Go back to the main lobby, and as soon as I sit down the phone rings again. I pick it up, don't say a word, and sure as hell, garbled voice again only audibly saying, 13th floor. I hung up on the phone, turned the ringer off and spent the rest of the evening just staring at the parking garage security monitor. There's been a bunch of creepy things happening at this building. It's basically like the Overlook Hotel at night. I walked past the dark room here on the first floor once and swore I saw myself standing inside it. The next night as I'm inside said room cleaning, the lights flip off and I turn around to see a quick flash of myself walking past. Case file number 903, written by Brownie Cameron. House Pixies to the rescue. I was picking up several papers and small items off the counter to leave this morning. One thing was a 4x6 Ziploc bag with 100 grams of clay in it, so not a thin item, that was in a folded sheet of letter-sized paper. I was trying to pick them both up at once and hold my phone in the same hand, obviously not a smart move. The bag slipped out and fell towards the floor. I watched it fall, and then it just didn't hit the ground. It seemed to disappear mid-fall. I stepped back and looked around everywhere to make sure it didn't hit the floor and slide, since it was a weighty item in a slick bag. Nope, no joy. I moved everything in a 5-foot radius just to make sure, and there was nothing it could have fallen into on the way down. I was picking it up from my kitchen counter. There is no way it could have gone under the cabinets. It's just gone. Even the cat was confused. I spent 20 minutes looking for it, even in places my rational self knew it couldn't have been. So, for those that have had this happen, does the item ever come back? I'm really stressed about this as it's a special clay and I need it soonish and have no desire to spend the $100 to replace it. You know, just an update. but I did find it. It wound up in a zipped-closed pocket of a backpack 6 feet away. Apparently asking the house Pixies for help worked. Case file number 904, written by Kinetic Symphony. It finally happened. My own personal glitch in the Matrix. I'm resting in my recliner, which is conveniently located within my own room and office area, ready to drift off to sleep in short order, or at least I was hoping so. My nightly routine, I always have to have a show running to fall asleep on my phone. Been rewatching the Stargate series lately. It's most excellent indeed, best sci-fi show, or at least right up there with Star Trek and The Expanse. Covers are drawn over me. I queue up the episode Entity. On Prime, it shows the title of each episode when you play it. First note here, I didn't remember that title at all. This is very odd for me. Keep in mind I've rewatched the Stargate series so many times in the past, it's a problem. Probably 8 times at least. Most episodes I could replay in my own mind and save on the Prime subscription cost. To not remember a title is bewildering. But that's just the start of it. As I play the episode itself, nothing about it whatsoever is familiar to me. It was so jarring that I was listening to the dialogue and I couldn't fall asleep because I was captivated by the then entirely new storyline. From my perspective anyhow. I couldn't even fall asleep. Adrenaline spiked. Had to get up and go do some research on this episode. Everything I could find indicated the same thing I felt in the recliner. None of this was familiar. Every single other episode I looked up, and have since watched, was sadly entirely known to my brain. No surprises at all. This happened a couple weeks ago. I wanted to wait a little while before actually writing out my own glitch here, to see if I could think of anything, but it really does seem like I have a Mandela effect on my own hands, for an entire episode of a show I've watched 8+ times. Case file number 905, written by Queen of Bananas. The Cinematic Glitch. I went to the movies with my best friend, known him for over 2 decades. After the movie ended, we went to the restroom. I had to unload the beast, so a stall was required. Urinal sufficed for him. When I was done, I did the standard sanitary hand-washing routine. My friend said he was waiting outside by the bathroom door, sent a text. I exit the bathroom, but he's not there. Figured he got tired of waiting as it was a, let's just say, substantial movement. That's fine, no worries. I sent him a text again asking him where he was. He says he's right beside the bathroom door. Now I'm very confused and a little on edge. Is he goofing off? It's not unlike him to play pranks, so I was alert, but didn't think anything weird was happening yet. After I insisted he was not by the bathroom door, and he continued to insist he was right there, describing the poster right across from the bathroom entrance. I was starting to get frustrated with him. I told him to cut the act, that I was starving. I never pay for movie food, it's too damn expensive, and that we needed to head out and grab some burgers. For the last time, he says he doesn't know what's going on, swears to God he's right outside the entrance. I decide to go back into the bathroom. Keep in mind there's still a fair few people coming and going as the movie had just let out 15 minutes ago. I wait a minute, then come back out again, thinking he wanted some crescendo to his prank. What do you know, he's right there as I come out the second time. But he's not acting like he pranked me. He has a look of confusion and irritation, much like I imagine the expression on my face looked like. We both kept insisting we were in the exact same place, but neither of us could see each other apparently. Ultimately, we just chalked it up to lack of awareness on our parts and went to grab food. Bonus file, written by Blip22, The Story of 50 Souls. My father used to tell me a story when I went to bed. I was a weird kid who loved to hear about murderers. Dad said there used to be a man who lived in my best friend's home who had ended the lives of over 50 people. He'd take them back there in the basement. Dad never went into great detail, obviously, as I was young, but I still knew. I'm in my 20s now. I still live in the same town, and my friend ended up buying his own parents' home, the one my dad was speaking about, paid off their mortgage and still lives with them, taking care of his dad, who's very sick. Cancer. He's a good person. I go over there too when I can spare the time. I work 2 jobs, so it's not easy. Last time I went over there, I went down to their basement to get meat from the deep freezer. We were going to cook steaks the next day, staying over as I had a few days off. As I head to the freezer, the lights cut off, and I feel colder than I ever have before. Mind you, we live in Canada, Ontario, near Sudbury. Needless to say, I am accustomed to extreme chill, but this coldness was nothing like external wind chill. It was internal, like the cold was within my own bones. This sensation only lasted a few seconds tops. Lights came back on and I felt normal again, although shaken, definitely pumped up full of adrenaline. I'd been down in that basement countless times over the years. My friend and his family have too, of course. None of them have ever mentioned anything exciting or weird like this happening to them. Nothing ever happens in this town or house. Don't know what to make of that. I'm not hard-pressed against supernatural experiences, but I'm not a firm believer either. This makes me wonder for sure. I asked my dad a few days later if he had made up the story he told me going to bed, specifically about that house. He said he did. It was just to appease my strangely macabre mind, especially for a 7-year-old. So, was this just a coincidence? Did my mind conjure up this weird scenario by itself, or was there actually a presence down there? Case file number 906, written by Cabbage and Brains. How could a language be downloaded into my brain? Hello, I'm a cop situated in a southern city. While it technically was not mandatory to do so, only one member of a team had to have competency in Spanish. It was encouraged to learn a second language. I've tried to pick up bits and pieces of the grammar, inflection, and word meanings. Many are similar to English, so it's not that out of place to have a vague idea of what someone is saying, even if I could not keep a conversation flowing. Here's the glitch. I was out on patrol with my partner, Robert, but of course we called him Bobby, when we spotted 2 men, early 30s, polo shirt and jeans, average height, evidently harassing another man, 50s at least, Caucasian, in front of a pawn shop. Flashed our lights briefly, then exited the vehicle on caution. Breaking up the disturbance, separated the men and asked them questions to know what the commotion was over. The older man said that everything was fine, when it clearly wasn't. Most people in the city know not to snitch, never surprised by this. The other 2 gentlemen were suddenly acting very calm and civil. Neither of them spoke English, or at least neither of them chose to. My partner was the fluent one in Spanish, so he was leading the conversation, with me trying to follow along. And then, it's as if a switch was flipped in my noggin. I suddenly understood every single word spoken. Every intonation of their voice indicating a contrary meaning to a word. Something you'd only appreciate if you dedicated a lot of time to local culture and dialect. I'm standing there feeling entirely normal physically, but mentally ill. I understand everything. But I can't. My mastery of Spanish is at a 3rd grade level. There's no conceivable way that this is happening. A human brain doesn't all of a sudden gain this kind of insight, especially in words I know I'd never heard before, but now fully understood. For instance, I'd never heard the word noche before, which just means night. Yet when spoken, I knew what it meant. And on that deep subconscious level where you're not even thinking about understanding it, you just do. Same for the grammar. Turns out the 2 gentlemen had wanted more money for their jewelry than the pawn shop owner would pay. They had come here the night prior. They were irate, although according to the older man and the security cameras in his shop, it never became physical. We told them to break it off, and that was that. After this, I did try to speak to Bobby about this incident, but I couldn't articulate what I meant without sounding like I should be committed to the psych ward. I still have perfect mastery of Spanish now, so maybe I should be. Case file number 907, written by Mindful Soup. The surgical procedure out of this world. A few years ago, I received rough news. I needed to have a surgical operation done to remove a tumor located near my stomach. The doctors and nurses involved were very kind and polite, and most importantly, very reassuring, telling me this type of surgery is routine these days. While I still felt extraordinarily afraid, I knew there was no choice. The tumor had not metastasized yet, so if removed, there were great odds that it'd be cancer-free for a long time. I agreed to the procedure, and eventually the day and time came to be put under. God bless anesthesiologists. I went under in a few seconds, the weirdest feeling, as if being submerged into warm water. But this wasn't an ordinary surgery for me. I woke up what I can only imagine was hours into the surgery, above my body. I was floating, witnessing the surgery being performed on myself. I couldn't move, just watch. I felt no pain nor fear. It's a difficult feeling to describe. It's not bliss. I felt entirely neutral, numb maybe. Time didn't seem to matter. The whole play happened at the same time, it seemed, and before I knew it had begun, I was waking up in my real body. It's unclear to me if my mind had imagined this or if I really did have an out-of-body experience. According to the surgical team, it went perfectly smoothly, never having any emergency issues to deal with. I always thought if out-of-body experiences happen, that they'd be when a person is at death's door. Maybe not. Maybe it's related to the person's state of mind? Bonus file, written by Throwaway 23311. That overwhelming darkness. My parents had recently sold their home and bought a property in the country, and I had just turned 28. I chose to convert a large shed on the property, which was close to the house, into my home. Although I occasionally felt uneasy in the shed, my dog kept me company, so it wasn't too horrible. Anyway, after a couple weeks there, I was sitting at the computer one night with my dog resting at my feet when I realized I had to pee. I got up and went outside to relieve myself. I was admiring the sky in the clear, starry night when I heard the shed door bang behind me. I quickly turned and attempted to open it, but it was immovable. My dog is now growling louder and louder inside the shed, and I can hear him barking as I desperately try to open the door. I should mention that I'm 6'7" tall. Yep, a giant, athletic, and well-built. However, despite my efforts, the door will not open. I'm now in a panic as my dog's barks have changed into whines, whimpers, and stillness. Finally, with all of my strength, I slam the door open. Now that the light inside has been turned off, the room is completely dark, and I can't get it to come back on. I can't see my dog anywhere, so I fumble around looking for a torch. When I do, I pick it up and switch it on, but I wasn't expecting what I saw next. My dog's eyes are closed and has physically squished itself into the farthest, darkest corner of the room. I walked over to him, and right away, when I was close enough to touch him, he leapt into my arms and wouldn't let go. I ran as quickly as I possibly could after picking him up. My dog would not even go near that area of the property, and I never set foot in that shed ever again. Case notes for file 897. How did my car travel through time? Another car-based anomaly. I think it's travel distance related, meaning the more physical distance you travel, the greater your odds of encountering some type of space-time anomaly. Maybe they're centered around ley lines too. Although I think generally they're peppered all around the world, so traveling in anything quick, car, plane, whatever it may be, boats, the Bermuda Triangle comes to mind, will increase your odds of encountering them. And they may be even more frequent and common than we think, it's just that most of the time, the anomalies are fairly minor. There's nothing to say that if you encounter a space-time anomaly, portal, wormhole, whatever you want to call it, that it has to carry you forward tremendous distances or interact with time to an extent where you lose hours. It could be mere minutes. Like in this case, losing 10-20 minutes. It's weird, but you can almost play it off as like, okay, this is probably nothing, shouldn't really think about it, when in reality it's actually really damn strange. Now if you reduce that even more to seconds or maybe a minute or two, most people will just discount that as a tech glitch. Maybe the clock on my car is wrong or on my phone, or it's just in my mind. I think it's very easy to dismiss lower level glitches, and I think most people do. So they're extremely common, but just underreported. Case notes for file 898. Will you take the blue or the red pill? You had me laughing at Kentucky Fried Frick. What a curse. I'm not really one to use curse words, but hey, I'll add that to my repertoire of curses right alongside Avada Kedavra. Now, as you further expand in the comments, you fully inspected the bag, all sides. There were no holes for it to have fallen into. It's not like a pill can hit carpet and then bounce into the opening at an angle. If it was hardwood floor, it would still be unlikely, but I suppose possible. But because it's carpet, there's no possible way for it to bounce. If you have carpet or a rug or something, go drop a pill on it and you'll see it doesn't move at all. The carpet absorbs all that kinetic energy. More than enough to prevent it from bouncing into a bag that's on its side. Now, it is possible that there was a pill already inside the bag and the one you saw inside the bag wasn't the one you dropped. However, you don't mention finding a pill outside of the bag, so probably not that. It could simply be that the pill phased through, de-rendered and re-rendered. Still odd though. Normally de-renders and re-renders don't happen that quickly. Case notes for the creepy file number 73. The Mortal Fragments. That would creep me the hell out for sure. And it's the motivation that really gets to you. You're left wondering, what the hell? Why would anyone do that? Even if it was a psychopath, what is their motive to scare you specifically? Did he just pick a house at random? And of course you don't know if they really were human bones. Maybe. Could have been animal bones, made to look like human. Or maybe some sort of prop. Maybe it was some twisted prank that no one took credit for. I do believe your instincts are correct. You were being watched. We do have that sense of knowing. Maybe they were even watching from an adjacent apartment building. Could have been a parked car too, as you suggested. The only purpose this could possibly have served is to instill terror. That would be the only possible goal, no matter the intent if they were real bones or not. It takes a malicious mind to do that. Actually reminds me of the old medieval warfare days where one strategy to inspire terror and despair in the castle troops was to launch human fragments, for a better, cleaner word, into the city. And obviously that would terrorize people, no matter if you're a hardened warrior or not. That's disturbing to see. Effective at terror, no doubt. And you know, you're very smart, given that you don't have a choice in walking back and forth between college and your apartment. Well, having more friends with you is better. The odds of being attacked in a group of 4 is greatly diminished versus a group of 2, or just 1. Smart. The end of my notes. We're almost to the new year. Are you excited? Let me know your New Year's resolutions in the comments. And like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe, hit the bell, you'll always be notified then. See you tomorrow. Case notes for file 904. It finally happened. My own personal glitch in the Matrix. So here we are, the first glitch that happened to me. Well, veterans will know all about the tennis ball, but a real glitch, let's say something notable. It's kind of fun, but it's very unsettling too. Now, the way I see it, there really are only 2 possibilities here. Either my memory is just faulty. For some reason I can't remember just this one specific episode of a show I've watched 8 times, again, very notable and important. And it's just this one specific show, and every detail about the show, from the dialogue spoken to the sets used to Carter at the end bursting into electricity, I don't remember any of that happening. Maybe I'm just losing my mind, it's possible. I don't think that's the case, and if that's not the case, then I might just be in a new universe. But that bugs me a lot, because if I'm in a new universe, it's almost always related to quantum immortality. My soul just transposed into a new version of me in a different universe. But then what about all the people back in the original universe where I came from, where I died there? It's very sad to think about. Although my friends, my mom and dad, they just think I died even though I'm still around in this universe. When it happens to you, it's more connected in that sense. And I don't know how it would have happened. I'm in perfect health as far as I know. Maybe a freak accident? I know that the last time I rewatched Stargate SG-1 and remembered every single episode was maybe 2-3 years ago at most, so it's within that time frame where this would have happened, if it did. No other shows have been different since then. Every show I've rewatched I remember what I should remember, and I haven't noticed anything different about the world I've been around, so I don't know. It's very strange, but it finally happened. Case notes for file 905. The cinematic glitch. This is a bit stressful. It doesn't fit my natural hypotheses. Unless it's a simultaneous universal peering. Because if it was just one of you, then that person that was afflicted by it would be seeing into a new universe, but the other friend would see the person and be confused as to why they were acting like they didn't see them, but neither of you saw each other. So unless you were both universally peering into different universes, I guess in theory it's possible? I have no clue why it happens to begin with, so I can't say there are laws of the multiverse that I fully comprehend yet. So maybe yeah, you were both universally peering and just didn't see each other right next to the bathroom door. that would fit with the text messages being received by each other. So your perceptions of the universe were off because you were seeing into a different one, but the physical usage of your phone was still connected to the cell network within the original universe. The signals were being sent in the original universe and then received and transcoded by the phone, and voila. You could get each other's text messages even though your perceptions were all wonky. And then something about crossing the threshold of the bathroom door reset the universal peering. Case notes for the bonus file. The story of 50 souls. Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think obviously, as your father says, that he was just making up the story to put you to sleep, which is definitely a darker kind of story than I was getting. I was still in my Winnie the Pooh phase when I was 7, if I recall. You definitely have a macabre taste in storylines. I would guess that there is a presence down there. Probably just some random spirit. I don't think it's related to the story your dad said. I think that's just your mind amplifying the fear effect of this happening to you. But yeah, it's unlikely that there actually was a whole bunch of murders down there. More likely just some spirit from someone who died there a long time ago, trying to manifest itself. I don't think whoever it was intentionally trying to make you afraid. Et voila! My stories are done for tonight. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. You know the drill. See you tomorrow. Case notes for file 906. How could an entire language be downloaded into my brain? No, you are not crazy. You definitely don't belong in a psych ward. If anything, your mind just went to another higher level. So that's not a psych ward relevant. Could this be quantum immortality? I know it seems like it's the obvious answer for so many glitches, but to me it is. Your soul just transposed into a new version of yourself, and in that universe, the souls merge, and of course you inhabit the mind as well, and in that universe you had already learned Spanish. It seems to fit perfectly well to me. Now, if it isn't quantum immortality, then for some reason the program of that language was downloaded into your mind. And of course, you could compare that to the Matrix movies, where Neo is loading in various programs to learn things, could be any kind of thing, how to drive a Humvee or whatever, stick shift, or of course, I know Kung Fu. That's always a very cool concept, to just have information and understanding downloaded and processed and installed into your mind. I kind of hope it's that instead of just quantum immortality, which is, quantum immortality at this point is like, so mundane, been there, done that, perhaps literally. Case notes for file 907. The surgical procedure out of this world. If we can astrally project, that is, our soul disconnecting from the body, navigating elsewhere in the world, I don't see why that wouldn't happen when we're near death, or just maybe it is related to the state of mind as you suggest. The out-of-body experience is just a form of astral projection. I guess more easily done when you are near death, but it seems like your mind just wanted to witness what was going on, or rather your soul did. When you're playing a video game and you can disconnect from that character and just look around the world like in cinematic mode or photo mode, it's similar to that. Your soul is breaking off from your body that it inhabits and animates, and it just wants to wander around and look around. Curious how you describe time sort of like together in one ball, and it just happened and then it was over instantly. Plays into the buffered reality I think we probably inhabit. Case notes for the bonus file. That overwhelming darkness. Yeah, this is about as classic as you can get towards a malevolent force or a demonic force. The critical point here is that your dog reacted in such a terrified way. Dogs and cats, and maybe other pets too, they have a keen sense of what's going on, including in the spiritual realm. I don't know if they're able to actually see it, or is more of a instinctual gut reaction. When something really negative is around, they know. And this applies to humans too. Some people when they're around pets, the pets just don't like them, and you probably should take that to heart. They're probably not the best people. I've never met a person who always was hated by pets who was actually a really good person. Maybe it's possible, but it's never happened to me. And pets always seem to like me, so there you go. But yeah, I hope nothing like this ever happens to me when I eventually go off-grid in a cabin in New Hampshire. Stay away, demons. And definitely have to ward off against Wendigos too. The end of the video, and the last video for 2022. I think I have to get rid of the Christmas hat after this, so we're back to just caps and beanies. Anywho, like the video, subscribe if you like it and want more, and see ya next week into 2023.